From the Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina, it's Life on the Grid. Hosted by Kobe Lambeth from the Podium Finish and Ben Schneider. Tonight's guest, Myles Rowe, Road to IndyCar racing driver. Sit back, grab a drink, grab a snack, and enjoy this episode of Life on the Grid and subscribe to us on YouTube.
Here's the uptown Charlotte skyline from the WBTV webcam. Hello and welcome to another edition of Life on the Grid. My name is Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish, and with me is Ben Schneider from Grid Live Encore. Now it's December. A lot of people like to call this the most wonderful time of the year, the holiday season. For college football fans, it's bowl season. Of course, we have the college football playoff coming up at the end of the month. Michigan versus TCU and Georgia versus Ohio State. Then a national championship game to play for and a champion to crown. This time of the year in college football always leads to a debate over whether or not to play in a bowl game or not, plus the talk over the transfer portal. In the last several years, we've seen more college football players opt out of bowl games to avoid injuries, especially if they're going to enter the NFL draft in the spring. Some people have a problem with that because they aren't necessarily finishing the job they started. On the other hand, with the transfer portal, players have the ability to move on to a brand new team next season and play it immediately instead of being forced to redshirt for a year like in the past. This is college football's own free agency period. Some of the people who oppose the transfer portal don't think it sets a good example for young athletes in terms of life lessons and values. Ben, do you understand and respect why NFL draft prospects choose to opt out of the bowl games, and are you in favor of the transfer portal?
Well, you know, Kobe, I'm going to sound like a broken record here because I've lost track of how many times I've said this on this show or other Grid Network programming. But, you know, there are very few issues in the world where I don't at least find myself able to understand both sides of the argument and why smart, intelligent people would find themselves so diametrically opposed with one another here. I totally get the idea that you would want to allow athletes to enter the transfer portal. And I think that, you know, people hang on to this idea that college football is all about amateurism. I think we've lost that a long time ago. There's just too much money that's being made, you know, from the TV rights to, you know, ticket sales to how many people are showing up to these games. You know, I understand that that's a hot topic as well. And I think that, you know, for a lot of people, you know, whether you're an athlete or not, whether you're, you know, a young player with aspirations to play in the NFL or the NBA or, you know, Major League Baseball or become a professional athlete once your college time is up, or you're a walk-on or whoever you are, if you're not an athlete, college is one of the biggest decisions you're ever going to make in your young life. And, you know, I think that it's good to allow, you know, these young athletes and these students to have the opportunity if they arrive on campus and it's not all it's cracked up to be, or it's something that is different from what they were expecting once they actually get there and have a feel for it, you know, to give them the opportunity to go and play somewhere else or to move on to a new chapter in their life. And make a different decision and not have to sit out a year, I think can be a very good thing. But the flip side of that argument is that, you know, a lot of things can be good in moderation, but it's the people that might take the extra step to abuse the luxury and the privilege that the transfer portal allows them. And, you know, the thing that comes to mind for me is, you know, if you want to take the basketball road, you know, St. Peter's just went on this incredible Cinderella run all the way to the Elite Eight as a 15 seed. It was the most successful run by a 15 seed in the history of the tournament. And I just remember hearing a week after that run came to an end, I don't even know if national championship game had been played yet, it was announced that 3 of their best players were entering the transfer portal. Now, from the athlete's perspective, I totally get that. You know, you've just had this opportunity to make a name for yourself on the national stage and you went on this great run. There might be offers to come contribute to a basketball program at a larger school with a chance to make a name for yourself and play with better competition. I totally get all that, but I can also see the argument from a fan's perspective or the perspective of students there at St. Peter's, like, you know, you committed to this program for 4 years and now we go on this crazy, great run and, you know, you're just going to throw it all away to go, you know, for selfish reasons, move on somewhere else to further your own career. So, you know, it's a difficult conversation to have. I understand that there are people that are, you know, very strongly on either side, but I think, you know, when you look at it from the athlete's perspective versus the fan's perspective, you can still understand why people, you know, might come out on either side of that argument there. And the same applies to, you know, playing in bowl games. You know, if you're somebody who is clearly going to be an NFL player, or at least try to make it in the NFL to go into the draft and try to pursue a football career. Again, the whole thing about amateurism, I think we lost that a long time ago. None of the top prospects in the NFL draft that we know are going to be drafted in the first round, they're not at college to pass their geology course, right? I mean, everybody knows that they're to gain experience in what has essentially become like a minor league football program to gain experience before they can go into the NFL. So if that's the path that you're on, and you're, maybe a 7-3 team or whatever, you're not in the national championship, you're not in, playoff talks or consideration there, you're just going to play in this bowl game. I get it. You don't want to risk, tearing your ACL or breaking something and then having a catastrophic career ending, or at the very least career altering injury that maybe affects your draft stock. So again, I get it from the athlete's perspective, but I can also get it from, students at that university and fans of that program who say that, we worked hard enough and this is our reward to get into this bowl game. And now you're going to step away and, greatly reduce our chances of being able to win it. I understand that perspective as well. So it's a difficult conversation to have, but I think, it's important to look at all aspects of it, before deciding where you fall on this side of the argument.
Yeah, for sure. I think you brought up a lot of good points, Ben. I also see both sides of the argument. And, looking at two of the top quarterback prospects in next year's draft, although they haven't officially declared yet at the recording of this video, got C.J. Stroud, the quarterback at Ohio State. Ohio State's is in the college football playoffs, so of course C.J. Stroud is going to play. That's something to play for. It would, I'm sure it would really burn a lot of Ohio State fans. That C.J. Stroud's like, yeah, we can win a national championship, but I'm sorry, but I'm out. Peace. We're not. Yeah, I know one of their wide receivers at Ohio State, he's been banged up all year, but he decided that he's not even going to attempt to play in the college football playoffs because he'd rather be healthy for the combine, and get ready for the NFL draft. And he got a lot of hate on social media for that, rather than trying to come back and try to help his team win a national championship. Then you had the other top quarterback prospect, Bryce Young from Alabama. Alabama not in the college football playoff. A lot of people don't know if Bryce is going to play in their bowl game or not. I'm thinking that he probably will not, because since he's not playing for a national championship, there's really nothing for him to gain anymore in college football by competing in that bowl game. So I understand why some top draft prospects choose to sit out, because imagine, being the probable number one pick of the draft, you go out there in that bowl game, in a meaningless bowl game. I mean, I don't want to say they're meaningless. It is special going to a college football bowl game, but in terms of NFL draft status, if you go out there, tear your ACL, then what's going to happen? Is your draft stock going to tumble? Is some team still willing to pick your number one overall and let you have a redshirt year while they bring in a veteran to fill the gap next season? I'm not really sure, but it could very well be the difference between being a first round draft pick, falling all the way to the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round, or even probably not going to go and draft if you're a top pick, but you might fall to the second, third, or even fourth round, or even lower than that. So I do understand the concern about you not wanting to put yourself at risk of getting injured in a bowl game. And in terms of the transfer portal, I'm 50-50 on this. I like it in terms, it's free agency. It gives you something to talk about. And also for programs that are trying to rebuild and get competitive, it's really a quick fix. We saw how USC and Lincoln Riley were able to rebuild that program by using the transfer portal, bringing in a lot of 4 or 5 star recruits to come there and turn USC into a contender. So the transfer portal in that way, if you're trying to rebuild a program quickly rather than taking several years, you can really do that. And it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Prime Deion Sanders does with the Colorado Buffaloes. I'm sure he's going to be wearing out that transfer portal, bringing in a lot of top talent. And if Deion can turn Colorado into a winner, a contender in the Pac-12, more power to him. And I know we're not going to get into this tonight, but as a whole separate conversation talking about him leaving an HBCU, Jackson State. There's been a lot of a lot of people having a lot of hot takes on that there. But getting back to the transfer portal, the biggest problem I have about this, I think it can certainly be abused in certain ways. I think if you transfer like one time to another university, I think that's good. If it was up to me, I would only be like, you only get to use the transfer portal once, and that's it. But we're seeing players start to abuse it. I'm not trying to pick on him, but quarterback JT Daniels, he started out at USC. Things didn't go well there. He went to Georgia, ended up losing the starting job. Then he went to West Virginia, his third school. And guess what? At the end of this season, now JT Daniels is back in the transfer portal. So next year he's looking to play at his fourth school. in college football. I think when it gets to that point, Ben, I think it gets kind of ridiculous and you're kind of abusing the transfer portal.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And I think, again, like I was saying, I know plenty of people, at my own college that, we started out, running together on the cross country team freshman year. And, by sophomore year, they'd, gone on and transferred, and vice versa as well. You had students come in, as sophomores or juniors who had transferred from other colleges. But, to do it twice or maybe or to be on two schools or maybe three in rare circumstances, I think, it's hardly unprecedented. You see it quite often, to be on your fourth school or, whatever the case may be. I think that might be an example of, abusing the system and trying to, move on, a little bit too quickly, or not seeing, certain things out, or just do it for your own selfish gain, whatever the case may be. So, again, I think it can be good in moderation and, to allow players not to have to sit out a year after transferring. But, you're always going to get people that try to find the loopholes and exploit them for their own selfish gain as well. So, like I said, it's something that you got very passionate people on either side of the argument, but, I can at least understand where they're coming from.
Enough college football talk. Let's introduce our guest. I think viewers are going to be very excited because we have a driver on the road to Indy joining us tonight. His racing career was revived through IndyCar's Race for Equality and Change program, the first black driver to win an IndyCar sanctioned race. This year, he finished second in the USF 2000 championship. In 2023, he's staying with the same team, but moving up to USF Pro 2000, formerly known as Indy Pro 2000. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to Myles Rowe. Myles, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Doing great.
Well.
Awesome. Good to hear. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yes, certainly, Myles. Really excited to have you joining us tonight. And I know a lot of young drivers like yourself get started in go-kart racing. You had lots of success at Andretti Indoor Karting and GoPro Motorplex. When you were karting at GoPro, you caught the eye of a two-time NTT IndyCar Series champion, Will Power. It certainly has to feel good to impress someone like Power, a champion of the sport, his face on the Borg Warner Trophy, and the greatest qualifier in IndyCar history. So my first question for you, what do you think Will Power saw in you that day, and how has he played a role in your racing career?
Yeah, the role he's played in my career is extraordinary. I mean, he's such a humble, such a respectful guy. He's really gone out of his way to help me and lots of other people who have a desire to get into the motorsports industry. And yeah, I wouldn't be here without him, not at all. Will is such a foundation for my career and always will be. And yeah, it was kind of crazy, the fact that he even was with me on track for more than a lap or two at GoPro, and just to have that experience of running multiple laps with a driver like himself at the age I was phenomenal. And yeah, the impressions he got from me after that day on track is he probably got, a lot of confidence from me. It was my first session in a real go-kart. I was racing, like you said, at Andretti Indoor Karting for about 2 years of my life. And I'd never been in a real kart on real asphalt, literally. I was always racing on like slick concrete on the indoor track. And I think he got like a lot of confidence and could tell I could adapt really well. I had a very young, fiery spirit, and anything I hopped into, I had a lot of courage to try to learn it as fast as I possibly could and as efficiently as I possibly could. And I think he saw that and could really tell. And I think that's why he just wanted to help me out from then on, because he could see the fire and the passion in my heart. Like I said, he's just played a pivotal role in my career and always will be the foundation for it.
Yeah, and a quick follow-up to that. What's been the greatest piece of advice that Will Power has given to you so far in your racing career?
He's given me lots of advice, and it's more just collectively as a whole. The great advice that he's given me is just about keeping calm, and it's more like advice for life than racing, because it's the advice, where people say keep calm when your emotions want to get, really rattled and out of hand. And that's on the track. You tell me to practice in iRacing and in this racing simulation to help, control my emotions with different drivers on track and such. But it also applies so much to life about just being able to think better, make better choices, by just understanding your emotions, controlling them better, and just having more control over any part of you in a given situation. And so yeah, he's just really taught me to be centered, and be aware, and always be controlled and thoughtful in what I do.
And I know before your opportunity with Force Indy in 2021, you had to spend some time away from the driver's seat. As we all know, it's super expensive to race, and the price goes up the higher you go up the racing ladder. Sitting on the sidelines isn't fun, but it can really teach you some valuable life lessons. I know you just said Will Power taught you some life lessons, not necessarily pertaining to racing. And sitting on the sidelines like that, it can really put so many things into perspective. And we'll get into the Race for Quality and Change program right after this question. But first, while your racing career was on hiatus, did it ever cross your mind that your dream might be over? And how difficult was it for you mentally, sitting out knowing how much talent you had behind the wheel of anything?
Yeah, in my hiatus, that was definitely a tough time. A lot of perseverance was needed just to understand that, I might still need these skills later. I came out of winning a winter championship, a winter Formula single-seater championship, in the Lucas Oil Formula Ford Series. Came out of winning, my last race in that championship. It was my first year in a single-seater championship. And, I just didn't pick up any sponsor. All the sponsors that I did have, they couldn't afford to keep running with me at that time. And it was just, there was a lot of things telling me that this just wasn't going to happen for myself, for my life. And it was just, I literally couldn't watch racing. I ended in, I'm pretty sure it was the spring of 2016, and I didn't start driving until the winter of 2020 for Force Indy. And I'm pretty sure between 2017, 2018, 2019, I did not watch any racing. Like, there was a whole 2 to 3 years of where I just didn't know what happened in Formula One, which is very rare for me. Always know what happens in all the years, and there was just a period where I had no idea what happened for the longest time because I just couldn't bring myself to watching it because I just couldn't participate in it. So yeah, it took a lot of perseverance to bring myself out of that. But I just knew I had confidence in myself and in my ability to make things happen for myself and in my life. And at the end of the day, like I said, perseverance is what, got me to reconnecting with Will and getting back in touch with the industry and, finding opportunities. And somehow I found Force Indy and, got the ball back rolling like I always thought I would. It was always deep down I thought I would race, but it definitely wasn't like I was telling myself every day I'm going to get back in a car. It was more like deep down I know I'm going to get back and race, but every day it's like, wow, like I really probably am never going to race again. And it was a lot, but like I said, perseverance has been my saving grace for a very long time now.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be really inspired by the perseverance that you've shown, and not watching race and not keeping in touch with anything. I know that's hard. I can't imagine how that felt for you, and I also understand why you decided to take a step away, because you wanted to be out there competing with the rest of your competitors and not being able to do that, because of reasons outside of your control. I can understand how that's very frustrating and draining mentally for you. So it's really good that you were able to get back on track. And now IndyCar's Race for a Quality and Change program, it was created with the goal of fundamental change by increasing diversity and inclusivity throughout the IndyCar paddock from top to bottom. We've seen Beth Peretta bring Peretta Autosport to IndyCar, running some races with Simona Di Silvestro. Also some great opportunities for women to work within that team and all throughout the sport. 3-time W Series champion Jamie Chadwick is coming to Indy next in 2023 with Andretti Autosport. Then you and Ernie Francis Jr. were fortunate enough to come up through the road to Indy with Force Indy, a great partnership between Rod Reed and the Penske Entertainment Group. You and USF 2000, and Francis got the call to do Indy next after he turned plenty of heads during his impressive run in the SRX series in prime time on CBS, which is now going to be on ESPN in 2023. Myles, in a moment, you and Ben are going to talk a little bit about your time in USF 2000. But first, how did the Race for Quality and Change program change your life, and what impact can it have long-term in the IndyCar environment?
Yeah, the Race for Equality and Change has completely, 180 turned my life. I think I still would be really successful and making a lot of art, a lot of photographs, definitely a lot more films without racing. But it's enabled me to essentially do that and race cars at the same time, So it's allowed me to bring further balance into my life. It's allowed me to be or feel complete as a person. For myself, it's allowed me to just be happy as a person, which has allowed me to bring happiness and joy to other people that I meet along my journey through my motorsports career. It's done a lot for my life. I mean, it's all a given, and but also there's so many things like you don't see that it's changed. Just my relationships, just being able to get the opportunity to be successful in the industry, and then execute at times, and just the way it's changed my relationships and the opportunities that have been presented forth upon me as a result of is just incredible. It's just, it'll always be one of those very key points you look at that really shaped your career, shaped your life. Roger Penske and IndyCar have done an amazing job with it. It's definitely a difficult initiative to keep up and running. There's a lot of money that needs to go into it to make it to keep it standing. In IndyCar, it's the coverage on it is suffering a little bit, which naturally the financials are suffering a little bit. So initiatives like that, they're not even affordable, but Mr. Penske and IndyCar are putting forth their best effort to make sure it lasts and make sure it stays. So I'm really appreciative of that, and I know the industry is as well, because I know things have fallen out, like Beretta Autosport, not being in as many races as it was before, and Force Indy, kind of making a turn into more of an organization, and a company sponsoring teams rather than being an actual racing team. There's a lot of difficulties that have been brought forth and try to stop this initiative, but I think it needs to be said how good these people are for even bringing it up and trying so hard to keep it with us. And I think what that means for the sport in general is that there's been a lack of morale over the past years, especially looking way back in the 60s and 50s, but talking now, I'd just like to say that everyone in the series that I've met has done it, or it seems like they're doing everything in their power to make the best changes and leave the sport a better place. And I am incredibly appreciative to be living in a time where I can actually, really believe that is true.
Yeah, yes, for sure. And we've certainly made a lot of progress over the years. And while we've made progress, you can never get satisfied with it. You have to keep pushing forward and continuing to strive for making even better progress. And what Roger Penske's done with his Race for Equality and Change program, I'm really, really glad that IndyCar were able to come up with that. And it seems like it's something that's going to stick around well into the future. And speaking of the captain, you and Ben are going to talk a little bit about him in just a moment, and we're going to bring Ben back in here. I'm going to disappear for a little bit, and I'll let you two talk a little.
Well, Myles, thanks again so much for joining us this evening. We want to reflect on your 2 seasons in USF 2000, what we've noticed on the road to Indy, and honestly, a lot of other series. Part of a ladder system, it usually takes 2 or 3 seasons for a driver to show what they're made of. You've had 2 in USF 2000. In year 1 with Force Indy, you finished 13th in the standings and got your first win at New Jersey Motorsports Park. Year 2 rolled around. You had a breakout season with Pabst Racing, 5 race wins and second in the championship, followed by your graduation to USF Pro 2000 next year. So my first question for you is, from year 1 to year 2 of USF 2000 competition, what were some of the biggest things that you learned that helped you grow as a driver? And then on top of that, how special was it getting your first win at New Jersey in 2021?
Yeah, the things I learned that's a good question. The things I learned between 2021 and 2022, I mean, it was more like building up a lot of time, like a lot of experience in the car. That just learning, what's the word? Is something I've learned in a book called Speed Secrets by, I'm almost sure, by the man named Ross Bentley. And there were some things that you talked about, and it's almost like the things that I learned in 2021 were things that I consciously learned, and then the things that translated into 2022 derived from experience, almost sort of things I unconsciously learned that just naturally, my skill, got more equipped with. And I think that was the main difference between 2021 and 2022, because remember, I spent 4 years not driving a single thing. And so before that, I only did 3 race weekends in a single seater. So 2021, even though I, came out the gate with speed, almost podiuming at Barber in St. Petersburg, there were still a lot of things that just needed to naturally hone in skill-wise in order for me to perform, at least close to my max, which is what I did here in 2022. So yeah, a lot of those things were just unconscious things, just being in the car more, and because I could go into all the little, precise details like the braking and everything, but at the end of the day, it's just time and experience. And yeah, Force Indy has done an immaculate job at making sure, and Paps Racing, they've done an immaculate job at making sure that their drivers get time, and are well taken care of. And so yeah, that played the biggest role in the difference between 2021 and 2022.
Yeah, well, I know for a lot of drivers, I think experience is one of those things that, it just takes time, and, having a year or two under your belt before you start to pick up things that you didn't maybe even know, but you didn't know when you're first getting started. So I can imagine that, you're able to take that step forward just from year 1 to year 2, and then you'll continue to take those further steps as your career goes on. I remember about hearing your win in New Jersey. I live in Delaware, about an hour away from the track. So I was thinking to myself, I really wish I'd, made a trip over there. I think I had a schedule conflict that weekend, so I was bummed to miss out on that.
Oh.
But obviously you, doubled down on that victory multiple times this year, and we'll get into that right now. We'll focus specifically on the last race weekend of the 2022 season for you. You were competitive all year long, of course, and we're in the fight to win the USF 2000 championship, entering the triple header season finale at Portland International Raceway, which is the home track of our own Joe Samniego. So he got to see the title battle between you and Michael D'Orlando, because he was on site that weekend and saw that battle come down to the wire there. Now, I know the finale weekend in Portland didn't really get off to a great start for you, but you were able to still impress a lot of people by your drive in the final race, pushing your hardest, making overtakes, and leaving it all out on the track. Ultimately, in the end, I know you came up just 6 points short of a championship, but you still had an incredible season to be proud of. So to ask you another question here, despite a runner-up finish in a championship, what will you take away from that weekend in Portland after coming so close to winning it and making history there?
Yeah, I mean, what should I take? There were a lot of things I took away. So to say one thing is very hard. But I think the main thing that I took away was that everything is okay, man. Everything is gonna be all right. You have plans, things can happen, or things that you think should happen or will happen, and it totally just doesn't happen the way you think it would, no matter how hard you believe, no matter how much faith you have, which for us as humans, especially those of us who are very religious, or just even the smallest bit religious, when we have faith, it's very hard to get it broken. And it's just, it took me a while to understand that it was a loss, but I was really happy with how quickly I was able to recover and realize my situation. And that was the fact that I just finished, I was the second, fastest driver overall in the championship. And I was, up front for a majority of the season. I'm racing a car. I get to travel. I'm with a great family of a team. I have a great family, a great support system. There were a lot of things to take away, but I think, the greatest thing was the fact that I was able to realize how blessed I truly am. And that was really cool. It sucked to lose, but it definitely hit me in a better, more rich way in terms of the broader scheme of life, for sure.
Well, I certainly think you had a lot to be proud of in 2022, and especially when you consider that, we want to put this story into greater context here for viewers out there who might not know this. There's a lot of uncertainty for you during the early part of the year. We were all made aware that you didn't have the funding to run the entire USF 2000 season at first. At the time, you were looking like one of the top contenders for a championship, but there's that caveat there, but you still needed the funding to finish out the year. And then Marshall Pruitt from Racer.com broke the big story during the month of May that Roger Penske himself was going to come through with the additional funding you needed to complete the season. So how stressful was it knowing that it could be game over for you in the middle of the year if you didn't find the funding in time? And then what does it mean to you, or what did it mean to you, knowing that Mr. Penske, the captain himself, decided to make that investment on his own to see you finish out the season?
Yeah, there was definitely a level of stress at the beginning, of a very high level of stress that I might be going through the same kind of, experience I went through from 2017 to 2020. And that was very, very scary, especially because, things were starting to get, look really well, especially after the first race at St. Petersburg, where I almost, was looking like I could win, and then the second race where I won it. Then Barber immediately after won that. There was a lot of stress there, but then also there was just also another layer of just, I wouldn't say I didn't care. That's not a way to say it. That's not a way I thought of it. It was more like I just couldn't be bothered with it. Almost like, even though Portland happened so much later this year, it was another one of those, look at the grand picture and realize, how blessed I am. Sort of a thing, and realize the opportunities that I have taken advantage of, and that I'm only, what was I then, 21, not even 25, so much to do in my life. So it was also just to take a layer off and just have fun, because this might be the last couple weekends you get to drive a race car. And I kind of focused on that a lot more than the stress of, oh my gosh, this is going to be my last race. What am I going to do? None of that. Just literally just no shits given. Just, excuse my language, but just drive, have fun, and enjoy the moment. And that's what I did. And yeah, luckily, the performance was there, enjoying the moment. And yeah, the captain, Mr. Penske, he stepped up some more, which, he definitely didn't have to do. The only reason I was running at the start of this season was because of him. So he definitely didn't have to step up and provide for the rest of the season, but he did. He showed he wanted to see my progression. He showed he wanted to see my results to the end, and show that he wanted to be a team with me to the end. And yeah, we got there almost with the championship, man. Jeez. But it was good. It was good. Yeah, it was good. And yeah, my emotions were just ecstatic, especially because of how I took the first part of the season, of just just don't stress and just drive and have fun. And then to have the reward be, you get to, run some more. That was really great. It was really great. So yeah, just all credits to Mr. Penske and Will Power, man, the Penske group there. They're great people. Helped me out a lot.
Well, Myles, we appreciate the insight you provided on the last couple of years of your career and a look to the future. And now we're going to bring Kobe back onto the screen, and he's going to get to know you a little bit better away from the racetrack.
Thank you, Ben. And Myles, it definitely seems like Roger Penske's investment in you really paid off as you're continuing to march up the road to Indy ladder and continue your racing career. And we've heard a lot about your career, so let's get to know you a little bit better off the track now. I know you studied at Pace University in New York City, the Big Apple, majored in film and screen studies. It also seems like you're really into photography as well. I had a friend from high school who dreamed of working in the film industry, so he went to Brooklyn College in New York to pursue his dream. Unfortunately, coming from a small town, he found out that the big city life just wasn't for him, so he came back home to North Carolina. So my question for you, how did you discover your passion for film and photography?
Yeah, on that background with your friend, my girlfriend goes to Brooklyn College, so that's really cool. Really, really cool. But yeah, I discovered my passion a little bit before getting into single seaters in high school, and pretty like stereotypical. I used to be really into this guy named Casey Neistat on YouTube, who is a very renowned filmmaker. Now, some would call him a YouTuber. He's definitely a filmmaker. And I remember watching some of his videos in high school, and just, it wasn't even about the film. It was just about how he went through his creative process, and how that resulted in the films the films that I was watching. And I was just really interested in that creative process that he was presenting to us. And I just, went through more of his videos and kept looking at his process and started to like find myself really getting intrigued by that. And then, before I knew it, I was picking up a camera, taking my own photos. I've always kind of done that when I was little. When I was smaller, I used to make stop motion videos for some reason with Legos. So I'd take these Legos and like make these like battles and like move them around, move all the little guys around and take another photo, stitch it together, have a nice 30-second, 1-minute movie of these, of just all these photos of these Legos. And so I've always just kind of been into it naturally, like racing, just, finding it's for me, it's just about showing, a certain perspective. There's so many different perspectives in life and reality and what we perceive as reality. Just from, the position we're standing in to the gender that we naturally are, to the gender that we perceive we are, to how our parents raised us, to the color of our skin, to, the nation we grew up in, to like what different, drink we had this morning. There's just so many different perspectives, so many different energies out there that we have yet to see, that we have yet to uncover, that we have seen, that we have uncovered, that some of us just haven't, gotten to experience yet. And I just love the fact that film can just take apart all these energies, all these, all this different music, all these different visual, settings, these environments, bring them together like a puzzle, almost like a dish, like you're baking something, and for it to, bring about a totally new perspective that no one, could even think could be possible. You know what I mean? Like that's what gets me excited about film. That's what gets me excited about photography. And yeah, it was just in high school when I started realizing that I had an interest for the creative process and all that.
Yeah, for sure. And it really seems like you have a super, super deep perspective on life. You definitely have a deeper perspective than anyone we've ever had on our Life on the Grid programs here. And a follow-up about your love for film. When I was looking at in your bio on Instagram, I saw something about the film called Indigo. Can you tell our viewers a little bit more about your involvement with Indigo?
Yeah. So I was the DOP on this film named Indigo, shot by me, directed by a very close buddy of mine, Matt Hinion. Also stars a very close buddy of mine, Chris Angeles, who acts in the film. And it's just a short film about it's a thriller. You have to click on the link in my bio on my Instagram, check it out, Indigo. It's just a very playful thriller about this couple who essentially just get into a lot, excuse my language again, get into a lot of shit. And it's very dramatic. I think we did well visually, especially as a short film and with the equipment we had. And it was just a blast making that film. I enjoyed everybody on that crew. Is just fantastic. Such great people. So yeah, definitely check it out just to see the chemistry we made. It was really cool. And, we're making another one very, very soon. I literally have a meeting with him sometime this week. So I'm really excited about that. So definitely check out that film. But just, a quick little psycho thriller, kind of a little inspiration, just from all these different, films like Pulp Fiction and such, just like something really playful that we did. So yeah, it's just a film I'm proud of, and check it out in the bio on my Instagram. Instagram is Ocean, like the sea, OCEAN by MR. Yeah.
I'll definitely be checking out Indigo tonight after our show. Whenever the new film comes around, be sure to tell us about it and we'll watch that one as well. And as young adults, one of the biggest things we have to learn is time management. Some people are excellent with it, while others have a much tougher time. For drivers, the weekly schedule can get quite busy with those commitments being a top priority. Have you found it difficult trying to balance your racing life and finding the time to do all of those activities you've already talked about, the ones that you really love away from the track?
Yeah, it believe it or not, driving a race car, as simple as it sounds, takes a lot of multiple things to do. Um, Definitely a full-time job. And yeah, like time management, like it's especially in 2021. It definitely forced me to manage my time a lot better. It forced me to really, just racing in general has forced me to grow up a lot faster than I thought I would. Tim Cindric, the president at Penske, told me that the industry makes you grow up a lot faster than you think. And I'm definitely getting a little bit of that now. I can see what he means by that. And yeah, it's just all the things you have to do, all the different people you have to talk to, all the different places you have to go, and doing all that simultaneously while also keeping yourself centered, keeping yourself healthy, keeping yourself not only healthy but fit. Getting fitter, while also doing whatever work you have to do, like emails. And for me, it's films. Editing photographs, taking photographs. Communicating with people about photographs. You realize, and then did even talk about the racing with the interviews and just moving around all these different meetings, Zoom meetings. And there's only 24 hours a day, not to mention the sleep you get, not to mention the time you eat. So really, there's only about 14 to 16 hours in a day for you to do all this. So, and then we're not robots, so you think of all the time you spend scrolling on TikTok, just laying down, taking a break, eating a snack, talking to friends on the phone. I mean, really, you get a solid 10 hours a day to do what you need to do. And when you really weed it down and think about it, it's like, wow, how do you get all that done? I think about it some days, like, how am I going to get all this stuff done? And yeah, it just requires you to grow up and really be mature, and that's all you can do. All you can do is be disciplined. Wake up every day, make your schedule in the morning, take that shower in the morning, do that run, do what you do, and just freaking just get disciplined, man. Because you either get disciplined or you get left behind. So that's all I have to say. I mean, it's really just being hard on yourself and just making yourself, wise up, straighten out. Because if you're not on top of your game as an athlete in this industry, you're really going to get swallowed up really fast.
Yeah, and like they say in the business world, every single person is easily replaceable. So if you're not with the program, there'll always be somebody there who can certainly come in and take your place. And you mentioned 24 hours in a day. Sometimes it feels like we need even more hours in a day to get all the stuff done we need to get done, because it's always super stressful. And I went to UNC Charlotte, so I went to school with several NASCAR drivers, so I saw firsthand what it was like for them going to the racetrack and trying to study, seeing them in the library. Sometimes it was like really hard for them, and having to go to the shop day in and day out and try to find, and then come exam time, some of the professors weren't so understanding of their schedule, which is obviously very frustrating for them. So it's certainly, like you said, a lot more than just driving a race car. There's a lot of whole other things that are put into the equation as well. And next, here's a question we've asked most of our recent guests, and we've heard some fun answers from various people. What's something that most people don't know about you?
Good question. Oh, actually, yeah, most people don't know this about me, which is surprising. But I play a little guitar. My teammate Jace, if he saw this, would probably be like laughing his ass off right now, because I say that I say that like someone skates. Like, oh yeah, I skate. No, I don't. I can play a little bit of guitar. I can't shred on the guitar, but I can play a little guitar. And not a lot of people know that, actually. Like, I don't talk about that really at all. When I'm listening to music with people, it's normally not the kind of music I would be listening to. So talking about guitar never really comes up. But yeah, I play guitar. I love that electrical guitar. and I absolutely I love rock music, old school rock, old school punk music. One of my team members, Myron, his real name's John Buzlog from Penske Corp. Oh my gosh, he's shown me so many different types of these punk bands from like Buzzcocks and such. Like, I don't know, I could probably name all of them. You guys probably like Modern English. I don't know if they're rock band, but like that's some stuff people don't know about me. Like, I love rock music, alternative rock, punk rock, and I love playing the electric guitar a lot. Those are definitely like little hidden passions, and I want to get to the point where I can record my own music, with the electrical guitar, and see what I can make. That's gonna kind of stuff. Record your own music, put the music in the videos I make, and I don't have to worry about copyrighted music. So I mean, that's like low key stuff I'm working on that nobody really knows about. So yeah.
Well, Myles, thank you so much for all of those intriguing answers. Next, we're gonna bring Ben back in here. He's gonna talk about your expectations for next season in USF Pro 2000 and your thoughts on the road to Indy and IndyCar in general.
Thanks, Kobe. Well, Myles, I know the road to Indy ladder's kind of changed a little bit going into 2023. We've got 5 different steps on that ladder: USF Juniors, USF 2000, USF Pro 2000, Indy Next, which has been rebranded from Indy Lights, and then, of course, the final step is the NTT IndyCar Series. Now, looking ahead to next year for you, you'll be stepping into the USF Pro 2000 Series full-time, the championship formerly known as Indy Pro 2000, continuing your partnership with Pabst Racing under the Force Indy banner as you take the next step in your racing career. So for you specifically, Myles, what are your expectations for your first season in USF Pro 2000 competition?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Like, I don't know what to expect at all. I've never gotten anywhere close to this level of motorsport. So it's like, what am I expecting? It's like, if a friend asks me that, it's like, I don't know what I expect, but I expect to have a lot of fun. The car, it literally feels like a mini F1 car. It's just the way I imagined like getting into a car like this in real life when I was playing, the F1 games on PlayStation, everything. Like, this is how I feel like those cars should be feeling like. Like, it's got some downforce now. It's got bigger tires. It's got more grip. The braking's a little bit better. It's a proper race car now. It's got turbo in it. Like, I'm just excited to just rip it on the track with these guys, because we've been to a few tests now. We only went to one where there was a good bit of people, and our baseline was just out of whack that weekend, so we just didn't even really get to test with the other people properly. But I'm really excited to just be on track with all the other competitors, be in a good car, and just run the track. I'm so excited for St. Petersburg. Really excited to see how that car feels on that track. I'm just excited. Yeah, I'm just super excited. I'm not even expecting anything. That's one thing about me. In the beginning of seasons, now that it's been a few seasons now, I can say that. Now that it's been a few seasons, what I expect is nothing. I never expect anything. 2021, I didn't expect anything. I didn't even look at the driver lineup for the first race, just so I could literally only analyze the drivers on track, not get intimidated by any past successes or who they are, what they've done, none of that. 2022, I looked at the drivers a little bit more, didn't expect anything, just going to go out there, do my thing. We saw, what that yielded. And yeah, this year I'm going to see who I'm racing against, obviously, but other than that, I'm just going to show up and drive, and just, be as cool, confident, and I don't know, respectful as I can be. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a good plan. So, over the years, I know many drivers have given positive endorsements of the Road to Indy ladder, of the education that they get racing in the different levels as they move up. A lot of those drivers feel like it truly prepares them to go into the NTT IndyCar Series. And Myles, of course, everyone knows it's your ultimate dream, like so many, to become an IndyCar driver. So are you also in agreement that the road to Indy works exceptionally well in making sure rookies such as yourself are prepared to tackle the demands of the IndyCar series?
Yes, without a doubt. Yeah, Road to Indy, very educational program. Sometimes, I'm there in the drivers' meetings, and I feel like, in a good way, I feel like I'm almost back at the Lucas Oil, formula racing school, just by, how much attention they give to each individual driver. They're very good with that also. And just, all the bases they cover during the meetings, out of the meetings, before and after. They do very well, very organized, very respectful crew members, and very loving crew members as well. So yeah, no complaints about Road to Indy. All positive thoughts on that aspect.
Well, Myles, one more thing we want to get your opinion on is something that's really been a hot topic in IndyCar on social media right now in particular. Over the offseason, Penske Entertainment has been busy rebranding the series we've been discussing in hopes of being more relatable to Gen Z drivers and fans. 3 USF championships and Indy Next en route to the ultimate goal. Car counts across the board are looking very healthy entering 2023 as well. But in terms of, the marketing side of things, what are your thoughts on the rebranding? And do you have any ideas of how IndyCar can better appeal to Gen Z and attract other new audiences?
The branding is I don't know. I think it's just a thing now because, they just rebranded and everything. Do I think it's going to help? No. Do I think it's going to hurt? No. It's just like, all right, before it was Indy Pro. Okay. So what? Now it's USF Pro. Okay. So what? There's nothing there where it's like, okay, Formula 1, Formula 2, Formula 3, Formula 4, like it does the same thing. So I have no opinion on the branding. Do I like it? Yeah, it's kind of nice. It kind of, branches things off a little bit or groups things together a little bit better, I think. But yeah, branding, I don't really have an opinion about the whole marketing issue with applying to Gen Z. It's a big topic because it all comes down, like everything, it all comes down to, your financial ability. And the only thing I can say, because there's just nothing that's going to change. You could post anything you want to post on social media, how much you want to post. It doesn't matter until we get these smaller races, the USF 2000, USF Juniors, USF Pro 2000. We really need to get, especially USF Juniors, USF 2000. Like those need to be very well broadcasted, recordings at this point. It can't be and this has been heard from probably so many people at this point. Like IndyCar knows this, Anderson Promotions knows this, that they need to get the broadcast to be actual manned camera broadcasts. And because it's just too hard to watch the racing. It's hard for me to watch the racing myself. The races that I do with the unmanned camera stations where they just stay stationary. It's very hard to watch that. And for Gen Z, with the attention span that we talk about, with TikToks lasting 5 seconds, and that's how long it takes for someone to slide to another video, they're going to need to put men at these cameras to get any more views in this time period we're living in now. Until that happens, or until they have the ability to do that, it's not even, in my opinion, it's not even a conversation, because that's the whole problem. All these IMSA series and all that, all these European series, even the European kart series, the Super One series, for instance, like having these races properly broadcasted, there's actual viewers on these tapes. That's why, because, and that's why they have following, because first of all, they have the broadcast. You can't follow a series if you can't have a proper broadcast to follow. So my only thing is the broadcast, and that is literally my only thing. It's not even a conversation I want to, because I've had this conversation many times with people. It's not even a conversation I want to have unless it's like, okay, we can do something about the broadcast. Like it all lies in that one thing now. Because I think IndyCar and especially USF, the USF Pro Series, they're doing really good with their promotions on social media right now. I'm really liking it. But the problem is and even for the Indy Next series, or Indy Light series as we used to call it, they're broadcasting well, but it's on Peacock. So like anyone who wants to watch those broadcasts has to literally pay for this service to watch the broadcast. So it's essentially just doing the same harm, is essentially just not having a broadcast, because Gen Z who don't know IndyCar aren't going to pay, a monthly subscription just to figure out what it is. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to need to like have access to that free broadcast, just like they have access to all these free things on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. So that's all. Fix the broadcast. Don't make people pay for it.
Yeah, well, I think certainly the broadcast would be a great first step to try to make those a little bit more accessible to, especially, Gen Z, like you were mentioning, and the younger audiences. And I know that, Formula One got that criticism for so many years that they weren't doing enough on social media. They weren't doing enough to promote the sport to younger fans. They've had, a few years now where they've really, focused their efforts on that. And you've seen the results and you've seen the growth. And so we certainly hope that IndyCar can do that, not just for the main series, but also for the junior categories and the Road to Indy ladder as well. Well, Myles, thank you so much for joining us once again this evening. We're going to bring Kobe back on one more time to help us close out the show now.
And before I close out the show, I also wanted to point out, looking at streaming and all of that, IndyCar, Indy Next, you can see those on the Peacock streaming service by NBC, all the IndyCar practice and qualifying sessions there. But Myles, once you get to, all the USF 2000 stuff, then that's when it gets really hard to, try to find it and all of that. So it's going to be interesting to see what IndyCar is going to do with that moving forward in the future. We certainly thank you so much for joining us tonight on Life on the Grid. We encourage all of our viewers to follow Myles on social media. His website, MylesRoweRacing.com, and on Instagram and Twitter, you can follow him at Ocean by MR. Be sure to follow Grid Network as well, all over social media. If you like today's show, consider investing in Grid Network by joining our Patreon. Thank you so much to our Patreon supporters, Colin, Mark, Michelle, and Robin. We wouldn't be able to do this without your amazing support. Click on the link below to join our Patreon or buy me a coffee for a one-time donation. Also, use Public.com to invest in the stock market. Use the code GRIDnet to earn free stocks. Get started and utilize the stock market for your own personal investment. Myles, before we let you go for tonight, you have any final words?
Well, you were talking about the broadcast still, and I realized I still had a point on that. Sorry, nothing. Normally I leave something deep or something, but I'm just really stuck on the broadcast. I think another point on the broadcast is, I think why so many people are able to get into the European series like Formula One these days. Not only is it, of course, because of the Netflix show Drive to Survive, but it's also because of the fact that when they watch a Formula One race, they can go, I can watch a Formula 2 race, or I can watch a Formula 3 race, or I can watch a Formula 4 race, and then they can go down and they have a bunch of content to watch. For IndyCar people, and that's the problem. You watch IndyCar, and then it's what do you go to? NASCAR, and then NASCAR gets all the money because we don't have any other. We're not covering all our other series, all our other single seater series. We have Indy Light series. Oh, I gotta pay for Peacock now. I don't have Peacock. I'm a driver. Going up to the series, I should have Peacock and watch these races. Looking at the drivers I'm going to be driving against. I don't have that freaking platform. So that's my point. People can't pay for these things, and IndyCar is not getting enough time watched because they don't even have broadcasts on the other younger series. So anyone who's watching IndyCar and not getting enough, they don't have any other footage or content to look at. And they're making all this content on social media, but for what? No one wants to look at that if they can't even see the drivers actually driving. So why do they care about the drivers if they don't care about if they can't see the drivers driving? You know what I mean? I'm on a whole rant, but I've been trying to get these opinions out about the broadcast for a minute, because it's not about me. It's a little bit about the drivers as a whole, because that's fan base, how your fans see you, but it's really for the fans, because me as a racing driver, me as a fan, because I used to watch all of all the European karting, all of that stuff. If you're not covering the drivers, why bother even post about them on social media? Because no one even can even watch them do what they say they are, as drivers. So yeah, they just got to fix that, is my final thoughts. And my final thoughts on that are, I hope all three of us could send a word of positivity to you guys watching today or tonight from wherever you are. And yeah, just if there's anything taken away from this interview, I hope it's just to, keep persevering and keep working hard, and yeah, just keep being, good people for the earth.
Yeah, it's for sure. And one thing that I really find super interesting is a lot of people in this country, in the United States, have no idea what IndyCar is. Because I remember one time when I was in high school, I was watching the Indy 500, and then I had a friend message me. He was like flipping through channel and saw the Indy 500, and he's like, "What's this strange looking NASCAR series?"
Right.
So he thought IndyCar was NASCAR, and I said, "You've never heard of IndyCar?" He's like, "No." And with the expansion of Formula One now in the United States, there's a lot of those people who didn't know what IndyCar was, but they know what Formula One is now, and they can name F1 drivers. But he'd be like, "You heard of IndyCar?" They're like, "No, I don't know." I said, "Do you know any IndyCar driver?" No. So so that's certainly something that's going to have to be addressed in the coming years ahead from the IndyCar side.
Yeah, it's man, it's definitely it's pretty crazy. I mean, it's a whole conversation because it's essentially like in the world of fashion where you have like Gucci, who is Formula One, and then you have like, let's say, Prada, who is or Louis Vuitton, who is NASCAR. It's like you have this brand which is like, let's say, Versace, right? Which very great brand, very great products, which is IndyCar. We're talking about IndyCar here. Everything's great about it. It's even American. Like it's an American brand, guys. Like it's so promotable. It's in all the right places in America, but where are they? Like no one knows where they are because like I said, like Louis Vuitton and Gucci are putting all these things, in all these people's faces, including getting what the number one thing they should be getting done, the broadcast, the fashion shows, the broadcast, what everyone does. They're doing that plus more, and Versace, IndyCar, they're not even doing the fashion shows. They're not even doing the broadcast. They're not even doing the main thing. So yeah, and IndyCar knows this. IndyCar knows all of this. And that's why I said it's an issue of financial ability. Not that IndyCar is broke. They're not at all near broke, at least I hope not. It's just that, especially since this isn't something that they've been doing, it takes a lot to start something like this and get it going, especially since they don't already have the connections for the people manning the cameras on the broadcast or anything. So it's not like something that's been going on 10, 20 years. They have their deals, they're in negotiations. Like they're trying to do this in this time of the 2020s, which is, that's expensive. So we can just end on that and saying, we know you're trying IndyCar, but we love you and we want you to try a bit harder.
Well, I'll tell you, I still get asked if the Indy 500 is a NASCAR race myself. So there's certainly some further steps we need to take to try to prevent that.
That's a very big problem. It's a very big problem. So yeah, well, I know they'll get it sorted out though. IndyCar is goated, so they'll get it sorted out. I believe in them.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're all out of time for tonight. Once again, Myles, thank you for being here. Hope the viewers liked tonight's show. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. Help us get to 500 subscribers before the Daytona 500. 2023 is going to be a really fun season. We want you to be part of it in all our live programs, plus special programs such as Roundtable and Life on the Grid. Click on the links to see some of our great videos right here on the Grid